This is Jason David Frank, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert? What? I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network, the podcast that's completely sick of winter, and I think like everyone else. Today we are going back to our Geek Power Rankings. Back in September, we did the first edition of Geek Power Rankings, where we counted down the top 10 biggest things in the world of geekdom. We're going to go back to that today to see what's changed, what's still on that list, what's new that needs to belong, and see how much geekdom has changed in the past 6 months or so. But before we get to all that, how's the week been going for you guys?
This week was interesting. I was pretty busy, but I guess I should start off with some more big news for myself.
Ooh, did you join like Tumblr or?
No, but I think you guys might be more surprised by this one, but I definitely think that the world must be ending because I'm doing all these things. But I finally got a smartphone.
Oh my god!
Yeah!
Wow.
what did you? It's the end of the world. You
know? Did you go Apple, Android? Where'd you go?
I went Android. Got a new Motorola phone. I'll be honest, I kind of went for it because it was a cheaper one.
Yeah.
But it's still a really good phone. It has a lot of it does a lot of things better actually than some of the higher end phones. So it's got nothing but good reviews online and stuff. So I really like it so far.
Nice. Did you get all your things updated like Facebook and Twitter and all that? And
yeah, I mean I'm kind of slow coming up with that stuff, but I've just been like checking out everything and all the different apps and stuff you can get. And cool. There's this weird little animation thing on here called Windy Day. It's sort of like a virtual reality thing. Like when you open it, wherever you like turn the phone, it's like you're looking in that direction. You're kind of like in this forest, and there's like a mouse that's like chasing this hat that keeps blowing away in the wind, and you have to like follow him with the phone and stuff. But it's like this. It's just this thing to like promote virtual reality, like animations and stuff like that. But it's pretty cool.
Man, so much has changed in the past few weeks.
I know. It's getting scary, Life's getting pretty scary here. So a lot of change.
Cool. So now when we send you photos, you can actually, it's not just like a pixelated like blob. You can actually
I know yeah, and this camera's so much better than the crappy one I had on my old phone too. But and also what's good is that, I could check my Gmail really quickly, so I could respond to your guys' emails much faster now. So,
nice. How about you, Greg? How's your week been going?
My week's been all right. Yeah, I used up all my energy for my high at the beginning of the episode. I am going downhill quick. I was asleep before we started recording, and I woke up a little bit later than I should have to start recording this. So I am probably sounding really dead right now, so I'm sorry about that.
Hey, so our mission today is to be interesting enough to keep Greg awake, so hopefully we can do that.
Good
the sad thing is, I almost fell asleep myself. So.
I didn't fall asleep last night until like 2:30 in the morning, so I think that's the main reason. I'm hoping I'm not like, how at the beginning of a cold you're kind of sleepy a lot.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not a cold because everybody else at my house has a cold, and like they've been out of it for about 2 or 3 weeks now. They've really been fighting some crazy stuff. So
crazy. My week has been it's been a mixture of weirdness. Starting on Saturday, I went to the second day of the Best Picture Showcase at AMC Theaters, and like we went to it. We knew we were getting snow that day, but we're supposed to get like 3 to 4 inches, which is not too bad. We're going to be there all day. By the time it was over, most of the snow would be plowed. Well, as the day went on, that 3 to 4 inches went to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Eventually, we ended up getting near a foot of snow, and it was kind of weird. Like by the third movie, they actually ended up closing the movie theater.
Wow!
But they kept the Best Picture showcase going. So it was really weird because we were the only people in the theater, in this entire movie theater, just in this one location. And there was like 3 people, like, you know, selling concessions. And it's also next to this mall that's like been long dying. So it looks like the mall from Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, I feel like I'm in the apocalypse. It was so weird. It's like, this seems like the world's ending and we're just stuck in this movie theater because there's like no one here. It was like eerily quiet. It was insane. We ended up actually skipping the last movie because it was getting so bad out. And we were driving, and there was tons of cars parked alongside, or like basically abandoned alongside the road, and people walking. And I'm like, oh man, I feel bad for some of these people. We're going by this one section. It's like near, it's more like a suburban area. There's like a grocery store there and stuff. And you see this guy walking. You know, there's a few people, but there's no sidewalks are all covered. So he's like walking in the road, and he's like barely has a jacket on. I'm like, why is that guy walking? It must be something important. You know, we get up to him. He's like carrying something in his hands. We get up to him. He's got a case of beer in each hand, walking down the street and like barely having a jacket on. I'm like, that guy has priorities.
So it was important.
Yeah. Nearly a foot of snow, like cars barely keeping control. Literally, he's like in the road, so kind of dangerous. It was like, wow, that guy. And it was like Budweiser too. So it's like, you know, I don't know. It seems
well,
like...
Budweiser is trying to sell the fact in the commercial that they think they're better than a whole bunch of these small craft breweries now, which is insane.
Well, maybe, Dan, you should have looked around for some cameras because maybe they're actually filming a commercial.
Yeah, maybe. That could have been it. Yeah. They, you know, as cold as ice, 34 degrees, whatever they say. But yeah.
You will go through 12 inches of snow to get a case.
Yeah.
Or 2.
And then, well, after that, but earlier this week, I ended up driving into work, and I don't know what happened, but I ended up blowing a tire, which sucked. So I had to like pull over middle of 695, which is a major highway in Baltimore, and like change it in the freezing cold, which was not fun whatsoever. So
Oof.
It was I've gotten way too good at changing tires. I've done it so much, but
Dan's like the NASCAR pit crews.
Yeah, except for when it's really cold out, and it was just like, it was awful. But luckily it was in a good location, so I could get over easily enough, and there was a lot of space like to change it. And my car is really small, so that helps. But what really sucks though is like apparently I'm the only like one of 3 people in my apartment, my neighborhood, that own a shovel. Because when we got all that snow, like no one knew how to shovel. There was a guy, my one neighbor was using his the thing, you know, you use to get your ice scraper for your car to shovel out and like his snow. Yes, it was insane. It was just, people just didn't. This guy was using a broom. I went around and I literally shoveled for like 3 hours on the one Sunday, helping people because like no one knew how to shovel, and people. My one neighbor was trying to get out. He couldn't. He was with his family, his wife and his kid. He couldn't get out of a spot, and I was trying to help him. I had an extra shovel, and I gave him my extra shovel, and I was using my shovel, like trying to shovel him out. What he was doing was just taking the snow that was in his spot and putting it in the spot next to him. Like, no, that's not what you can't just make it worse for the guy next to you. I don't think he saw snow before. He didn't.
These people have no idea how blizzards work.
Yeah, it was insane. It was like, but there were some interesting things that happened this week, and one of them are random short films, fan films that happened, and a lot of people are talking about it. We may even talk about it later for the Geek Power Rankings, but we got to start with it because it's one of the few things we all got to watch this week, and that is the insane Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan film that was released by Joseph Kahn earlier this week. The same guy that did Dirty Laundry a few years ago. Now is coming out with this fan film starring James Van Der Beek with this adult gritty version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably saw it. So I'm kind of curious what you guys thought of this new version or this new interpretation of the Power Rangers.
Greg, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. I thought the acting was really well done. I liked James Van Der Beek, and I also liked what the hell's her name? She was on Battlestar Galactica.
Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, Katie Sackhoff. I thought she was really good. Everybody else that was acting were just okay for the most part. I really didn't understand what was going on with the story, to be quite honest. I'm like, what? Who? Why is? I don't want to spoil anything, but I was like, why is this happening to everybody? Like, and I didn't understand what the dialogue that James Van Der Beek and Katie Sackhoff were saying to each other. I'm like I was trying to figure out what the hell they were even just talking about. I'm not sure if wasn't making a connection or something, or if I had a stroke.
I'll get into why that might have happened.
Okay. So yeah, but otherwise it was an interesting concept. I felt like they crossed it over with Transformers for some reason. I liked the gritty post-apocalyptic approach for it, and I've been kind of a little sick of that because everybody's been doing post-apocalyptic. I felt like it's kind of been dying down now, I guess. But I felt like everybody was doing post-apocalyptic. But I found it kind of interesting concept. I liked the whole taking it from a kid's show to this whole gritty feel going on. I thought they did all right with the costuming, but it also looked very weird. But you could definitely tell there was giant influence from the old Power Ranger show. So that was interesting. And they probably didn't have a lot of money to do it too. So I thought it was pretty good for being a YouTube video. It looked gorgeous though.
Chuck, what did you think?
It was okay. I wasn't really crazy about it at all, to be honest. I mean, there were good parts of it. I spent the first few minutes thinking that James Van Der Beek was Jason.
Yeah,
I was thinking too.
Just because he kind of looks like him.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. And I guess I found out later that I guess he's Rocky, which was the Red Ranger that came after him, right?
Sure.
they're really
like, yeah, I knew that. But yeah, well, obviously, like at the one part they sort of talk about Jason, so then you know it's not him. But
yeah,
so I was a little confused there, and like kind of like Greg, I was kind of confused what was going on. But I did recognize, like they were talking about the Machine Empire, which were sort of the bad guys that kind of came after like Lord Zed and all them, which is probably around the time when we all stopped watching it, I'm guessing.
Probably.
But that was, so I kind of knew where they were coming from with that. It was a little bit of background there, but
we get it, Chuck. You're smart. You understood it all. You're so smart, Chuck. I'm just kidding.
I'll let that go because you're really tired, but no, I'm kidding. It was, I don't know, I thought it was kind of like, I mean, I don't mind them going a different direction with it, but it was so like polar opposite of the Power Rangers we knew.
Yeah,
it was just like culture shock sort of. It's like, what? Like Zach is like snorting cocaine? Like what is happening?
Well, one thing I think is important when you watch this is actually reading the interview that Hitflix did with Joseph Kahn, the guy who directed it. One thing to consider is Joseph Kahn never watched Power Rangers, and his entire purpose behind this, like you mentioned, Greg, like how everyone is going dark and gritty. And like that's like the thing, and that's what he was kind of trying to make fun of. Like it wasn't meant to be serious; it was meant to be more satirical. Like it was not meant to be like hey, this is great. He was trying to make it more of a joke out of it. And I don't think I didn't realize that until I read this article. One, I don't think it was nearly as effective as a satire. It was like you said, Chuck. It's just so out, like the polar opposite of the Power Rangers. I didn't know if they were playing the same characters. And I was confused like you, Greg. I watched it a few times, so I was able to kind of better understand what was going on, and I've kind of read about it. But I think that's the most interesting thing about it is the fact that the guy who made it wasn't trying to do it because he loves Power Rangers. He was trying to do it because to kind of make a joke of the whole need for everything to be dark and gritty. Like he made a thing about, like he said something to the effect of, I almost did a movie about Barney, making that really gritty, but there's no lore there to kind of to come out of. So I did it with this. It's like, there's people that talk to dinosaurs. How can you take them that seriously? So I'll put the article in the show notes. So it gives you a completely different insight into like what he was trying to do. So knowing it's meant to be satirical, does that at all change your viewpoint of like how it was at all, Chuck? I know you weren't really a fan of it.
Yeah, I could kind of see that then. Like if they're sort of making fun of that whole trend of making things that dark. I could definitely see that. Like everything's got to have drugs, everything's got to have sex, everything's got to have like shooting people in the head, which I admit, like I sort of get sick of that stuff too all the time, because it's like every movie has to have that in it to succeed, and that's totally not true. Like you can do really great things without putting those things in your movie. So I can sort of see where that's coming from, but I don't know. I guess that the article you mentioned sort of conflicts with some stuff that I read, because like, or maybe just in my mind conflicts, because like, what was the producer? Adi Shankar or whatever like that? Something like that his name was. There was like an article that was talking about him, how he put so much like heart and like belief into these short films that he does, and the Punisher one, you know, he didn't do that for any sort of pitch or any money or anything. He did it because he loved it and everything. So I sort of got the idea that he was doing this one for that reason, but I guess that was totally not right.
Well, it could have been more so, you know, the loving of the craft, not necessarily. I mean, not that he dislikes the property, more so that, I don't know, maybe that, and also it could be something where the producer and the director have different ideas of what they're trying to do, but.
Could be. I actually also heard that Vanderbeek got like credited with like as a co-writer of this.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That's probably where the only references to the actual Power Rangers came from, because he probably watched it as a kid.
Is that change your viewpoint at all, Greg?
No, because I was kind of seeing it that way. I kind of felt it was a little bit over the top to be a little bit humorous. So it doesn't really change my opinion of it. I think they did a good job with it, since for a fact we know that's what they're going for now. Yeah. So I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it did look really impressive. Like the amount of stuff you can do now with like fan films or, you know, films for YouTube or whatnot, it's kind of insane. They had that one shot of the two Zords like fighting, like that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish they had a little bit more of like, I didn't understand why they weren't calling Zords in at all.
That's probably the scene, Greg, where you had the Transformers link, right? Because those two things fighting really looked like Michael Bay's Transformers.
Well, it wasn't that. It was the fact, like Dan said, we probably missed the part where they, after Lord Zed, where they had the machines thing, because they kept saying the machines and the army of the machines. Okay. So it was more that than the Zords, to be quite honest, because I kind of figured they would go a little Transformery with the battles for what type of film it was. But it was more of him talking about constantly saying the machines, the machines, the machines. Like, okay, what's the machines?
They should just cross it over with like Terminator and like, you know, throw out some Skynet references in there and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know what the machines were. I thought they meant the Zords. I guess that's something else, though. Yeah, I can't remember when I stopped watching Power Rangers. I think after the first movie or before the second movie is about when I stopped watching it. I can't remember.
I stopped watching probably a little bit after Rita and Lord Zed got married.
Oh, I didn't remember that. So.
And the plot thickens. I was watching, I think I saw the first movie and I watched like quite a bit of like after Lord Zed and Rita got married, and like, you know, Zed was pretty much calling the shots, but it was secretly Rita that was sort of like controlling him or something. Like she gave him a potion to fall in love with her. But he was like, you know, sending all the monsters and stuff. And then after that, I kind of lost, you know, track of it, and they had some different Rangers come in, and I was like, for me, I just lost interest when they started changing actors and stuff. But I just couldn't understand why actors would want to leave that show and go on to better things. I mean, why not just stay your whole career doing Power Rangers? You know?
You know.
why not be tied to that your entire life? I mean, you know. But
a lot of them that was their entire life, because a lot of them actually did die in real life after the.
Really?
Yeah, Trini's dead.
Really?
Yeah, she died.
Wow.
Who else? but there's like a couple of them that did seriously die after they did the show. And also I liked their reference to the guy who played Billy Cranston was actually gay in real life, and he was apparently getting ridiculed on the show. And so in the movie they had him coming out, and they had him on the cover of Out magazine, and so they had him being gay in the movie. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
That was kind of funny.
Do you know, was the one guy that they showed very briefly, I think he shot somebody, was that supposed to be like Bulk?
Yeah, there was Bulk and Skull in there.
Okay, I thought so.
We're tired of you guys making fun of us.
Yeah.
They sold them out to some cartel and they got killed or something.
Oh, man.
It was pretty much like it's like Breaking Bad meets the Power Rangers.
It was the skinniest Bulk I have ever seen in my entire life.
He was on meth, you know.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
Meth mouse.
I guess at first I didn't at all think it was satirical, because I do have that movie that's in the works that is supposed to be coming out in a few years. It's supposed to be like a live action, like full big budget Power Rangers movie. So I almost thought like this was supposed to be in line with that, but clearly it isn't. So much so I think Saban is trying to get them to stop, like, you know, trying to get the movie shut down and removed from everything.
Yeah.
That'll do it, because it's like, do you not know how the internet works? It's like trying to trying to stop a flood by putting your finger on like the one on a hole or something like that.
Put your gum in the crack in the dam.
That'll fix it. But
did you guys happen to see that like Jason David Frank's comments about this movie?
Yeah, he wasn't a big fan of it from what I
read. And I saw that before I watched it, so that sort of reinforced my belief that this was for real.
Yeah,
because I sort of read what he said, and he's like, you know, I don't like all the cussing and the drugs and the sex and all this other stuff. He's like, I'm more of a PG-13 guy, and like this Power Rangers property is a very kid-oriented thing, and you're just growing it up way too fast in this one leap. And after I watched it, I'm like, yeah, you know, he's right. Like, I really agree with him on this. And then, you know, when you talked about your article, Dan, it's like, okay, apparently he didn't know that.
I don't
that
think
either.
anyone
That
did.
was...
Satire's hard. Like, it's hard to do satire. Like, really great satire tends to be like.
Come on, porn does it all the time, Dan. Can't be that hard.
That's true. I'm sure there's a Power Rangers porn out there someplace. But
oh gosh,
oh man, I don't want to see what that Zord would look like.
Zordon.
But I think like satire is hard. Like usually you have to be like equal part of the thing you're making fun of, or not making fun of, but you know, satirizing and like also somewhat comedic. And I don't think there were some moments where I was like, this seems kind of almost funny, especially the scenes with the guy doing like drugs, like hard drugs, and like, you know, that whole.
I loved his '80s exercise video.
Yeah, that was pretty funny too. So it was hard. Yeah, so
I should have known it was over the top too, because like in that scene where he's like, you know, snorting the coke, you see the two girls making out in the background on the bed and stuff. And I should have known, like, this is way too far, like over the top, like.
Yeah, they pretty much did everything you possibly could. You have drugs, you got like mass. The dude gets like mowed down. Jason gets mowed down in a blaze of gunfire. So
apparently, like, you know, machine guns are standard issue for Power Rangers now.
Yeah,
exactly.
That whole truck gets destroyed by bullets, but Katie Sackhoff completely fine.
I know. Yeah. That was weird.
I kind of like what they did with his like shield thing that's on for Tommy.
Oh yeah. It's like an energy construction.
Yeah. So I think there's actually kind of some things they could pull out of that would actually, you know, and use maybe not as intense, because there have been a lot of fan films for Power Rangers, and I don't think any has been as high production as this, or have James Van Der Beek, which is crazy. Which is when I started watching it, I'm like, is that James Van Der Beek? It is James Van Der Beek.
JVDB. Not to be confused with JCVD.
They probably could have got JCVD. You got nothing else to do.
Doing an epic split. One thing I was going to say is the costumes were pretty terrible Like
Yeah.
the suits, they looked like styrofoam, like Halloween costumes.
Well, they definitely ultra padded that up so you could take hits and.
Yeah, and like the designs weren't even straight, like on the chest and stuff. Like
And
the helmets were kind of cool.
They were all ultra dirty as well.
Yeah. The helmets were cool because they were bulletproof. That part was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Dan, when you were talking about like funny parts, I thought when Rita revealed herself, I was kind of laughing at that part. I'll be honest. I was like, that's Rita. Nice.
Nice.
It just looked funny.
I think the dubbing for her should have been worse at the end.
Yeah.
Because it was always really bad on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alrighty. Well, enough of the Power Rangers, at least for now. So, Chuck, I know you've also caught up with a real movie, unlike, that's not just a fan film.
Well, real movie is a strong word. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but this is a movie that sort of probably belonged on my list of shame. And I've sort of seen parts of it, but I never like sat down and watched it all. And that's none other than Escape from New York.
Nice.
I enjoyed that movie.
I will say the first one, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed seeing Lee Van Cleef in there, who Greg will probably know from some Clint Eastwood westerns and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Gunsmokes and a whole bunch of other westerns.
Yeah, he was a big western guy back in the day. I was kind of surprised to see him in this sort of movie, but hey, it was 1981. Everybody was trying new things. So Ernest Borgnine was in there, kind of played his usual self. So, but I really loved the concept of it as like New York City being one big prison.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Like I never really, I don't think anybody's really tackled anything like that before. But the whole movie though felt like empty. Like it just. Like it was sort of a decent plot, but Kurt Russell tried kind of to be like Clint Eastwood in a way, like with very short, like succinct dialogue, and but it just kind of ends up falling flat, like for some reason. Like but it's not really his fault. I don't think I think it's more of like the script and just how they wrote the movie. And the other thing is like they sort of try to make him into this like super badass action hero and everything, but like people get the advantage on him all the time. Like he ends up like in the beginning like he's acting tough and they inject those things into his neck and he gets shot in the leg by the one guy and he almost gets the crap kicked out of him in that wrestling match with that huge guy and stuff. It just like I didn't buy him as like this huge action hero because he wasn't as like untouchable as you've seen in those corny 80s action movies. So it was kind of interesting, but
that's I guess I don't know. I love Snake Plissken. He's like one of my favorite characters.
Oh, really?
I can see him not like being untouchable, but I guess what I kind of like about him, he's almost like he's like wiry and maybe he isn't the toughest guy or the most skilled guy in the room, but he just kind of gets the job done.
Yeah, like I like his attitude for sure. Like, and it feels like that's what they tried to focus on more than anything. Like that, just that cocky sort of swagger or whatever. But
yeah, and I think that was a little bit before the time he got to the Invincible Iron Man of the 1980s, where like you just had one dude take it down the entire Vietnam army with one gun or something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit more subdued before we got to that craziness.
Plus, I think that movie was also a little bit satirical as well.
Oh yeah, like John Carpenter has that certain style to him that I do enjoy quite a bit. I think that's what happens with the third one, the sequel, where it loses all of that and he does become that like unstoppable, like war, kind of really too cheesy. Yeah, with the sequel.
Yeah, talking about like the ending of the first one. Like with the whole tape switch and everything, it just seemed like that subverted the entire like plot of the movie. Like it took away the gravity of the situation because like, okay, we need this help to like prevent this nuclear like war, but then he switches it out and it's like, okay, does that mean the war happens and everyone annihilates each other? And okay, yeah, maybe you're supposed to like use your imagination, but it sort of just made your entire adventure pretty much moot. Like There's no point for like saving the president at all. That was kind of funny. Kind of I would have liked to have seen a little bit different ending to it, but like the rest of the movie, I really enjoyed. Like they didn't try to overdo their special effects or anything. Like it was just, it was shot pretty well for like what they were trying to do. And then you get to the second one, and it's just like terrible.
Yes. Wait, you don't love the? Oh, it's not snowboarding, but
surfing.
Surfing, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
the surfing scene looked awesome.
The tsunami scene. And then
oh man,
he jumps onto Steve Buscemi's car. Like,
yeah.
What the frig? How about when he was in that submarine in the beginning, and that shark comes up out of nowhere, out of the bottom? It looked like an old like video game or something. It just looked horrible.
Yeah. But
like the ending of that one was really good though. You remember the hologram thing? Yeah. They all thought he was really standing there, and like he used like that ending was the sort of thing I was looking for in the first one. I'm like, that was awesome. So like if you combine the two, like you have a pretty awesome movie. Because like one's strong in the beginning and the other's strong at the end. So
yeah,
it's just kind of funny. But I do.
It kind of reminds me of like Terminator 3, which like the movie itself isn't that great, but I love the ending. So. Yeah. And that sort of saves it, because you're like, wow, that was an awesome ending, and that's what you remember when you walk away from it. But I do agree. I do like Snake Plissken a great deal. The lines and stuff that they gave him were sort of memorable, and everyone's saying like, I thought you were dead, and someone would always say his name, and he would always say the opposite one. He'd be like, call me Snake. Or the guy would be like, hey, Snake. He's like, my name's Plissken. like that was cool. He was a good character. And like Greg said, if they were trying to be a little bit satirical with that makes a little bit more sense too. But I had heard a rumor that they were trying to do a remake of that. Yeah, they've been talking about it for a while. They talked about doing a sequel, like a third one. And I guess, Kurt Russell's too old. He doesn't want to do it. But they've been talking about doing a sequel for some time, or doing a remake for some time.
Yeah, I had heard that they were in talks with Gerard Butler to play Snake Plissken. Now, obviously not much has come of that since then, but
yeah,
it's an interesting thought to ponder. Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, he's kind of a similar... kind of actor, I guess you would say. Not that I'm saying Gerard Butler is as good as Kurt Russell, but it's kind of a similar feel to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could do a lot worse than that. And John Carpenter movies have been remade before, like the remake of Assault on Precinct 13, which is not a horrible movie, but it has its moments. But there's a lot of John Carpenter movies I still need to catch up with, mostly this horror films, but yeah, I love his scores, especially for Escape from New York. I love because he does all the music himself, and he's a really underrated composer.
Yeah, I love that. I love the theme song in the first one.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Like I just let the credits roll through the whole thing, just like it's music. Like, this is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, he was really almost like a Renaissance man when it came to movies, but I don't know. He's not done much lately, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the last thing he did was not very good. but all right. Anything else before we take a break?
I'm done.
Alrighty. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what is the biggest and the best things currently in the world of geekdom as we count down the Geek Power Ranking. So we will see you in a bit.
Every week on the In Session Film Podcast, you can expect to hear reviews on all of the latest movies, big films, small films, and everything in between. We'll also do top 3 segments relating back to our main review. We discuss all of the latest movie news and rumblings, as well as have movie series and other fun segments. And we always talk about the films that we're watching and why you should watch them or not watch them as well. If you want to learn more about the In Session Film Podcast, check us out online at InSessionFilm.com. You can hear our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and so much more. In fact, you can listen to everything we have straight from our website. Again, that is InSessionFilm.com. Download our podcast, check us out, and come join us every week. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, and welcome back. And way back when, on September 23rd, we did the first edition of the Geek Power Rankings, where we looked at the world of geekdom and tried to determine, well, if you were going to rank the biggest things in geekdom, what would they be? Think of like the NFL Power Rankings meets the what's trending on Twitter, and kind of combining both of those into one unique list. So after doing that on September 23rd, we got our top 10. And at that time, this was our top 10. At number 1 was Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2, Batman. And that included all the Batman stuff, Batman versus Superman and all that insanity. Destiny, Pop the video game, Pop Vinyls, Greg's favorite toy, Star Wars Episode 7, Arrow, Age of Ultron, Wolverine at number 8, at number 9, Deadpool, and at number 10, Doctor Who. And looking at this list, I think there's a few that I would think that, after, I guess, 6 months or so, we could say, that their time has come and gone, and I don't think they're necessarily ones we are nearly talking about as much as they once were. And I think we may want to start at the top and say, Guardians of the Galaxy was huge last year, but I think that, that's kind of come and gone, and we've moved on. Would you guys agree of maybe saying, maybe at this moment in time, that Guardians of the Galaxy would not be in the top 10?
Yeah, I agree, because it was a really great movie. There is buzz about the second one, but we're so far out that it's not the main item on the list.
Chuck, what about you?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think it's sort of faded into the shadows now as some other things are taking its place.
All right. So looking at number 2, not saying that this would definitely be in top 10, but are we thinking Batman has a bigger argument, like than to be in the top 10, or do we think also, that was the 75th anniversary, you had a lot of rumors going on at that time, you had the video game coming out, and now you just had a trailer drop today about the video game. So are we thinking Batman has an argument to be in the top 10, or like Guardians, he should be out?
I'm not hearing too much Batman stuff. I heard a little bit about the new Arkham video game that's coming out, but I don't know it's enough to keep it in the top 10 per se.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. All I've heard about is the Arkham video game, and I think we've moved on to other DC characters, other franchises that will be coming out other than Batman. So I think he's kind of died out.
All right, looking at number 3. So we're already number 1 and 2 off the board. Looking at number 3, Destiny, the video game. When we did that podcast, that's when it was selling record-breaking amounts of copies. Now, I'm not a gamer, but I went through a lot of the gaming boards, checked out, what people are talking about. Not many talking about Destiny. We even had the Geekcast Radio Awards, and wasn't even nominated by the fans for Best Video Game. So are we also saying keeping the trend going and removing Destiny as well? Or, Greg, I know you probably play more games than Chuck and I, or do you think there's an argument for it? I know it's not a great deal, but still more than that.
Yeah, I haven't played anything in a while. I still have to update to PlayStation 4 because I'm still on PlayStation 3. But I listen to like the Indoor Kids, and I listen to a lot of podcasts where the hosts like video games, and I've heard talk of it, and they haven't really praised it at all. It seems like something that's a bit lackluster, and they're kind of on to other things as being a part of a technological nerd freak out. It comes quick and leaves quick. Doesn't stick around for too long. Like technology, we're on to the next thing. So I definitely think that's out the window.
Alrighty. I think this is the one that has a chance of staying, and that is the infamous Pop Vinyls. Their popularity is pretty maintained. Do we think they still have it? There's a good chance it would make the top 10.
I ordered 8 last night.
Greg alone.
Entertainment Earth had a sale of buy 3, get the 4th free, so I got a whole bunch of them. So
you took advantage of that deal twice.
Yeah, I did. Of course I did.
That's all right.
Yeah, in my mind, they're still around, but I think I see it a lot more with going to conventions, and I seriously haven't been to a convention in a while, which I can't wait to get to a convention. I tried to get Comic-Con tickets. I missed out. Kind of sad about that. Hopefully I could do some other stuff. Hopefully we'll do Baltimore this year, or maybe I could do New York at some point. But yeah, I haven't really heard much talk of pop vinyls. I'm not really sure what's going on in that world. They just had the Toy Fair, and there was I saw Funko tweet out all the stuff that was going on at Toy Fair thing, and there seemed to like they had a lot of stuff coming out. So I wouldn't say pop vinyls necessarily, but maybe if we could change that to Funko themselves, because they have the reaction figures. They have a whole bunch of different lines coming out now. So maybe if we change it from pop vinyl to the main company of Funko, it could stay.
All right. Chuck, do you agree with that, or what do you?
Yeah,
say?
I would agree with that, because I was going to bring up the Toy Fair thing too, where they sort of revealed a lot of their stuff, and you could sort of see the pulse of that sort of spike again, so to speak. So it was funny because the other day I was in Toys R Us and I was looking at one of the Funko reaction figures. It was of Snake Plissken. So
yeah, they just came out with those.
Yeah. So
they also came out with the Fifth Element ones, which I'd be really interested in too, because
nice.
That's got kind of a cult status in my heart.
Nice.
Very cool. All right, so we have Funko listed as a possibility. Moving down the list from last time. After that was Star Wars Episode 7. We had things released. It was in the ethos at Star Wars. And I'm similar to Funko. This is my idea, changing this from Star Wars to Episode 7 just to Star Wars, with Marvel getting the Star Wars license and how those comics have kind of exploded in popularity again, at least sales-wise. I know the overall quality has been, some people said it's dipped, but Darth Vader comic was huge, setting records. So I don't know, what are the thought process is there? Do we agree maybe changing it from Episode 7 just to Star Wars and seeing where it lands?
I could see changing it to Star Wars, because I've been seeing that the Darth Vader comic is pretty popular, so I think you're kind of alluding to that. So I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I could see doing that. Yeah, I don't think the movie is quite as revered as it once was, as many people salivating about it. There hasn't been much mentioned, but I definitely think between the comics and a little bit of the movie that it could stay as just Star Wars.
I think with the movie there's a lot of speculation going on, because Abrams isn't really releasing any information, so everybody's sort of just waiting in anticipation, what is happening in this movie.
Yeah, we just had that one trailer, and that was kind of it, I think.
Yeah. And what's probably going to happen is when this is released, that's when the next trailer is going to come out and it'll explode. But all right, moving down the list again to Arrow, and when we did this, that was right before Arrow was released, but it was still huge, and that was when Arrow was supposed to come out on Netflix, but it didn't, and it caused an uproar, which was the first time that's ever happened. But now it's in its season, going strong, questionably. But I'm thinking this one has to be, Chuck, coming from you. I would assume that we'd have to at least include this someplace.
I'm going to go with a surprise and say no. I think it could probably drop off the top 10.
What is happening?
I am a totally different
you're joining
person.
Twitter, you're getting smartphones, you're turning on Arrow.
Chuck is very upset that they haven't sponsored us yet.
No, I just let me propose a countermeasure.
Okay.
So I'm not completely turned my back on these WB franchises. I say we possibly substitute the Flash instead of Arrow, because I think right now the Flash is.
I've seen Chuck doing this when he said no Arrow. I'm like, he's gonna try and insert Flash in its place.
Yeah, I'm just I'm taking out X and putting in Y. That's all. But I think we talked a little bit about this last week too. But Arrow's kind of dropped off just a little bit, maybe a lot bit for some people. I mean, it's sort of getting good now, but I could definitely see the first half of the season was pretty slow. But the Flash is like really stirring up a lot of new fans. Like people are asking questions about him, and what was he like in the comics, and who's this Flash guy? And I'm seeing like a lot of positive Flash stuff. I don't know, maybe I'm alone in that, but maybe at least the bottom 10. I would think we could stick them in there. I don't know.
Greg, I know you haven't watched The Flash, but I know you're kind of at least aware of the reaction to it. Would you agree that it
from what Chuck is saying, Chuck has the superior stance because of his superior knowledge. Once
I have a
again,
southpaw stance.
Yeah, in his outlook on all things Flash and Arrow. So I'm going to concede to whatever Chuck says on this topic.
Yeah, I would 100% agree because, like you said, Chuck, I think there's almost a unanimous opinion that Flash is, maybe not unanimous, that's kind of strong, but a lot of talk about Flash, and a lot of people are really, I don't know, the ratings are insane and much better than Arrow, and it's sustained that, and I think it's been pretty solid. So I agree. I think actually I might even say it's higher than bottom top 10. I think it has arguably in the top 5.
Okay.
Considering its rating and its overall fan reaction, and the fact that it did pretty well in the Geekcast Radio Awards. Yeah. So,
and for some reason, a lot of people seem to love Grant Gustin. So
it's from
yeah, and he had a singing scene on the Flash. So maybe they brought some fans there with the crossover. So.
My wife was not a fan of that. She's like, they have to act like he can't sing, and he can't sing, and it's kind of funny though, because the guy who plays the police detective, like his surrogate father, basically, he was original cast member, originally on the from Rent. He was in the first cast from Rent, so he's also a really great singer. So I'm just waiting for some musical episode of Flash. So.
Flash dance.
Nice.
Flash dance. That would be awesome. All right, moving on to the next one. And similar to Star Wars, this was also about a movie that hasn't come out yet, but I think there's maybe a little bit more argument with it coming out sooner, and we're getting more information on this. A trailer or poster was just revealed recently, and that is Age of Ultron. That was number 7 last year. Do we still think it is going? It remains within this top 10.
I would think so. That every step of the way is when we get a little bit closer, we get something else. We get a little bit closer, we get something else. So they keep feeding us and keeping us interested. And then also something else that maybe we could think about putting on is subscription. I had the word and I just lost it. A subscription based platform for things. So they have like the Marvel Collector Core, and they have it based around Age of Ultron coming out. So they have different things like the Iron Man Hulkbuster Funko Pop vinyl coming out for that. So, okay. And that's also another good reason for Funko is because they're one of the main partners with Marvel in that venture. So I think we could include it, and then also include subscription based I don't know, like Loot Crate is it, and they have Nature Box, and you hear it on a lot of podcast advertising these subscription based
Japan
platforms.
Box is one. Yeah, that actually was on my list of one to talk about too, Greg. That you brought up, like the Loot Crate and the subscription boxes that have kind of exploded in the past year, where you're getting. Marvel's doing their own now, and it seems like it's like every little thing has their little box.
Yeah, because there's also a grooming one that I've seen an advertisement for that on TV. It was an ad which I've never. Yeah, there's a Dollar Shave. There's another one that I just saw too. It's got, you can get stuff for a man type of box. You can get a woman type of box, and there's like this neon sign behind them. I forget what the. Apparently, it wasn't a great commercial because I don't remember the name of the company.
The Dollar Shave commercials are freaking hilarious. They tase the old guy. I freaking love that thing.
Yeah. All right, so we have Age of Ultron definitely staying, and we have collector sets. I'm guessing, Chuck, you agree with that? That collector sets, monthly subscription boxes, I guess we would call them, or belong in the possibility of them being in the top 10 for Geek.
I could see that. I guess I'll defer to you guys on that because definitely think you know more about them than me at this point, because I haven't really been following that sort of thing. But yeah, I would. I'll defer to you guys, and then I'll agree also in the Age of Ultron, because it just seems like the poster released and the anticipation's really building with that. So we're like less than 2 months away here.
Alrighty. Next on the list, number 8, last time was Wolverine. That's when the death of Wolverine was occurring, and that was a huge, almost made national news, real news. Are we thinking this one could be taken off since that story has come and gone? The reboot of Marvel Universe is occurring, and he's dead, so people aren't talking about him. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking for this one?
I'm just gonna go agreed.
All right, so we're taking Wolverine off the list. And next, number 9 was Deadpool. I'm also thinking we could probably take Deadpool off.
There's been some casting rumors, yes. I think that might maybe keep it in the same spot. That's like number 9, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
9.
so it might be there. It might be just a little bit outside the top 10, depending on what's going on. So I might keep that.
I will agree on that one, but I did want to mention that story about the Hugh Jackman. He wants to play him till he dies now, which is pretty freaking awesome. Maybe not enough to keep him in the top 10, but it was pretty awesome headline in and of itself. I can't imagine a 70-year-old Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. That's pretty awesome. But
hey, Old Man Logan.
Yeah, they might be able to do that eventually, because Jeremy Renner, they could have Hawkeye with a gray beard or something,
I think they're supposed to be coming out with another Old Man Logan comic, by the way. I think he's supposed to be involved in Battle World or whatever that is.
They should have some different characters in it, though. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Number 10 last time was Doctor Who. And I'm thinking we could maybe remove. I know that the Doctor doesn't seem like the past Doctor Who season was as popular as it once was.
Yeah, plus we had Peter Capaldi coming into the role, so there was a lot of intrigue about how he was going to do in the role and everything. And he's now firmly established, even though I haven't seen him yet as the Doctor. I think the only bit of news to come out of that would be the companion, and I am drawing a blank. I am so sorry, people. People are probably yelling at their computers right now or listening devices, coming up with the name. But she was going to come out halfway through the season, but then decided to stay. So there was a little something going on there, but I don't think it was of too big of interest.
Interesting. All right. And okay, so now if we look at what we have now so far, we have 6 possibilities with the addition of Funko, Star Wars, The Flash, Age of Ultron, monthly collector sets, and possibility of Deadpool. So now the question is, what new has been coming out that we could possibly add in here? And I wanted to start with one we just talked about, and that is the Power Rangers movie that just was released. And I mean, right now, I think this is the biggest thing. I'm not saying this would be number 1 in the power rankings, because it's not just like today or this week, but I think this definitely belongs in the top 10 because it's what everyone's talking about. It's huge. You have, potential lawsuits. It's every geek website has this as one of their top stories. So I do think it does belong here someplace. I don't know what you guys do.
I don't know. I think once it dies down a little bit, it'll be kind of a flash in the pan. But we could definitely leave it as an option.
Chuck, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Greg said. But if we're doing a cross section as of right now, I would say it has to be in the discussion at least.
All right, so I'll at least write it down as a maybe for now. Were there anything else that you guys could think of that I know? Greg, you already brought up the monthly subscriptions, and Chuck, anything, and you mentioned Flash. Anything else where you're thinking that it should be, that's kind of popular in the world of geekdom?
I had 3 ideas.
Okay.
I hope I don't step on anybody's toes here, but
it's a podcast. We're through Skype, so you'll be okay.
I step on everybody's toes.
was a bad joke. That's probably that might go down as a history of one of the worst jokes in Talking in Circles, which is an achievement, especially by myself.
I missed it, so it doesn't matter. I guess the first one I'd propose would be Supergirl. Talking about the Supergirl TV show. They've been doing some casting. They have a lot of news coming out there. And I really should have looked this up. Maybe Greg, our looker-upper, can look up who they got to play Supergirl. But
she was also in Glee. I know that much because that's what they have to do now.
I don't remember her name, but I did see. I don't know how I got to it, but there was definitely something where they're like, "Oh, and here's Supergirl, and here's a picture of her naked." So
I don't know how I got to it. I searched Google
Supergirl naked.
I don't know. I think you're definitely bringing up a good point. You know, there's a lot of casting there. I think if it would be, it'd probably be in the bottom 10 because I don't know if Supergirl has a huge audience to begin with, but I could see its popularity and the fact it's not on CW, which is a weird thing to say. The fact it's not on CW.
Her name is Melissa Benoit. I guess it is because it's got a random S in there for some reason, but I think it's this Melissa Benoit, Benoist.
Interesting.
She's cute,
but yeah, I think I don't know. I could see the possibility. I would say bottom 10. I don't know, Greg. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say we could do bottom 10 for right now. I would like her on top, but it's an even worse joke than Dan's.
Okay.
A good old-fashioned old bad joke. So.
Okay, quick counterpoint, which probably won't make a difference, but what about the headline that they're looking for a Superman to appear in the show?
I just saw that as I was looking her up.
I did see that. And
that may create a bit of a buzz there.
Yeah, and they might do Cyborg, Superman, and there might be some possibility of crossover. So that would be pretty huge if Superman came to TV, like in that, that would be pretty cool.
I'm guessing it'd probably be more like just Clark Kent. I don't know if they'd have on there, but who knows? If they have the rights to Supergirl, they could probably do Superman pretty easily.
Yeah, but
that makes it just worse for me.
But I definitely think that at least gives it more credibility. So.
Nice.
All right, you said you had another one too?
I did, and I think you guys will agree with this one a little bit more, maybe. I would say Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. We had a trailer come out a few weeks ago. A lot of things coming out about the Netflix show. So, and even generating some discussion and some distaste about the costume and some arguments and stuff. So, something that's sort of buzzing right now.
Yeah, and they're just released like an interview with him. So 100% agree regarding Daredevil. That definitely belongs in the top 10. I had it on my list as well to discuss for today. One I thought you might bring up, Chuck, which I was surprised you didn't, but I think you have to include it because it is it's the biggest show on TV right now that isn't based on a comic, and that's The Walking Dead.
Okay.
It gets better ratings than anything on cable. It's almost unanimously talked about. Like, I go on Facebook on a Sunday night, I know it's going to be talked about. I go to any geek website, it's going to be the top review of that day. So I think it is probably the most talked about TV show at this moment. That's at least currently on. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
What's it called? Walking Dead? I don't think I ever heard it.
Yeah, the Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
They kept the. Yeah. Unlike Facebook, they kept the.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Oh, okay.
No, I would agree with that. I think, especially since like you're getting into like towards the end of the season now, and like things are going to be happening. Like, presuming they're going to leave you in a big cliffhanger again. So yeah, I could see that going in the top 10 there, maybe.
Alrighty. And Greg, what about you? Do you agree?
Sure, I haven't really been keeping up on it, so I'll rely on your two opinions.
What's the last season you watched?
Probably 3. I don't know.
Okay, all right, interesting. I know the last few episodes people haven't. It was going really strong there for a while, but then like I think the last 2 have kind of people didn't love. It's going to go in a different direction if it goes based upon the comics soon. So I'm kind of curious how it goes out, but I definitely think it's really still talked about. This one I'm not sure about. There's not much upon it, but an image was released and it became like kind of a hugely debated topic, and that was Aquaman. I don't know if you guys saw the first image of the new Aquaman by Jason.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to bring that one up possibly. Yeah, that was quite a stir with the image, but it's almost seemed like it's sort of faded already.
Kind of like Aquaman would.
It's like, oh, cool. Well, it's Aquaman.
Oh, beard. Oh.
What's wrong with beards, Dan?
I did see nothing. I have not shaved since last Sunday, so it was funny. I saw someone post it. It was a pretty cool image of the Aquaman poster next to like a comic book cover that looked like almost identical from like the 2000s or 90s. So definitely, they're definitely going with that look.
They're definitely pulling off a badass look for Aquaman, but whether or not they could change the public perception of that character, we'll see.
Yeah. Another one I was thinking, we were talking about the world of comics, and to me this is one of the bigger comic book stories that have happened in the last few years, so I think it does belong in the top 10, and that's the Secret Wars / the Marvel possible reboot that's occurring that I still having huge ramifications of how Marvel is going to be going. So I know there's been a lot of people who've hated the idea. Some people like us, like we talked about it a few episodes ago, so we won't go in great detail. But does that belong in the top 10? The Marvel Secret Wars / reboot?
I think you maybe have to put it in there because it's like the Marvel Universe is coming to an end. Yeah. I know, like, I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to like the stories coming out because it's a lot of just like it's a lot of fluff right now, kind of just sort of trying to make the sell with it. It seems like they're really trying to, push the concept of it and stuff. But there's definitely a lot coming out about it, and people are talking about what's going to happen and how things are going to go down. So
cool. All right, I'll at least write it down for now. Alrighty. What else do we have listed here? So we talked about that one. How about this trailer came out we talked about this a few weeks ago as well. This almost already came and died already, so this might not belong, but the Fantastic Four trailer in that movie, I know it's mostly been negative reaction by fans, but does that belong here, Greg, do you think?
I don't know. I feel like it is getting a lot of reaction, but I feel like I'm basing more my opinion on my opinion of the movie itself because I don't really care. I seriously don't.
Yeah, that's kind of almost the reaction I'm getting from a lot of people.
But there is a lot of talk about it, so maybe it's a possibility. But maybe my opinion is just skewing.
Yeah. Chuck, any thoughts on this one?
I would say it kind of seems like it's faded off already.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really anything to supplement it, so like that came after it. So I don't know.
Alrighty. Just a few more, and then we can get this one created, and that is Agent Carter. It just gave its last episode. I definitely feel like it's got much more positive reaction than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Greg, I know you were keeping up there for a while, so you're keeping up with the show.
I saw it on demand, and I watched the second to last one, and then I watched the last one, so I am.
Don't say anything.
I thought it was actually pretty decent how they did and everything. Definitely a shocker towards the end, which I think would get people talking. I'm not sure how it's doing out in the world if people are talking about it or not, but I definitely thought it was so this is the opposite of our last discussion here. So I think it can maybe skew in the top 10 a little bit, but since it's kind of over now, I think it's going to die off quickly. The
ratings haven't been hugely fantastic. They've been good, but not great. Nothing really, not even, probably level of The Flash. So that's has it going against it. But I don't know. Chuck, have you been keeping up with it as well?
I have. I did not see the very last episode yet. I was busy for whatever reason, and I meant to watch it tonight or tomorrow. So, but I'm really, really enjoying Agent Carter, like way more than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just think it's done so much better. Like, just the plot is like ridiculous. Like, it gets pretty thick at times, and it's really enjoyable. And like Greg said, some twists and stuff in there towards the end. So
and they do really make a good. They do put a nice little end cap on her whole being a woman and not being appreciated kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we'll at least put it here for now and see how it goes. And last one, this one I know probably has no shot, but I just want to talk about it because it's good news, and I think it's one we actually talked about during Sequel Reboot and the Story way back when, and that's news that DuckTales is coming back.
Saw that
in 2017. You know, I know it didn't get a huge buzz, but you know, I thought it was kind of cool, so thought I would just throw it out there.
Woo!
And weirdly, so it's like Inspector Gadget and a few other shows are coming out on Netflix, which is kind of weird. But the new Inspector Gadget on Netflix looks super creepy. It looks really creepy. All right, so I think we're good on the amount. We actually have a good amount here to kind of whittle down. So to me, the question now becomes, all right, now we got to try to order this. And a few of the ones we have listed to me come out, or not heads and shoulders, but certainly a little bit more prominent than others. And the ones that I think are rather strong are The Walking Dead, considering how popular it is, Flash, considering how popular it is and its overall reaction, and Age of Ultron, just considering the fact it's really soon, tons of news about it, and we get one little thing and it becomes a huge story. So do you guys agree that these kind of belong in the top three, or are there other ones that maybe should go here? Maybe Star Wars, for example?
I'm going to go with Age of Ultron as number one in my mindset. But the other ones, I guess so.
Chuck, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with those in the top three. I think Star Wars is right there. I think we might have to put that in the top five. I would also put Daredevil pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we thinking is number one? Would number one be Age of Ultron, do we think? Or The Flash, or Walking Dead? Or
boy, to me it's between Walking Dead and Age of Ultron for number one.
I'm thinking Age of Ultron number one, just because I feel like the last few episodes of Walking Dead have, I think, you've had some negative reaction towards them.
Okay, yeah.
So not hugely, but I think that maybe would knock it down just a peg or two, considering Age of Ultron is just, it seems to be heading up. A lot of great possibilities that have seemed to be happening, and a lot of buzz about what it's going to lead to, is what I should say.
Yeah, so I could see doing that, Age of Ultron, then maybe Walking Dead and Flash.
Okay, so number one, Age of Ultron. Number two, Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Then The Flash. And then we thinking Daredevil would be next, or Star Wars?
I would think Daredevil, then Star Wars. I think there's definitely more coming out about Daredevil because J.J. Abrams is has such a tight reign over what's coming out on Star Wars. And our last thing was, and it's still kind of going through the zeitgeist design of the one lightsaber with the weird hilt to it.
Yeah, I guess if we considered the comics, though, would that maybe do anything, or do you still think Daredevil would go
Yeah,
ahead?
I guess that she got multifaceted. Yeah, I guess you have a good point there, Dan.
Chuck, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking Star Wars 4, Daredevil 5, maybe.
Alrighty.
Listen to Dan right there.
So,
actually, I think number 5, I have a new idea, a new trending topic. I think it should be that I am on Twitter and have a smartphone.
I was gonna say that you're on Twitter.
That's a pretty trending topic. It's pretty high up there.
Well, I figured that's unanimous number one. So why even argue
right.
it?
It goes without saying. So it's kind of like we're starting at number 2, but we're just calling it 1. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so we have 5 more. I'm thinking next, looking at the list here, there's a few that jump out to me. One, monthly collector sets that we've talked about. They're kind of expanding. Funko, like with Toy Fair recently, that released a huge amount of stuff, and possibly the Marvel reboot as well. Those three to me kind of seem to be the ones out of the list that have the biggest potential. Any thoughts on that? Anything that out of those are the ones left that you think should go next here at number 6?
What was the first one you said out of those?
I mentioned Funko, the monthly collector sets, and the Marvel reboot / Secret Wars storyline.
Oh, okay. I don't know. How do you guys feel about the Marvel reboot at 6?
I'm liking it there. I'm also honestly I'm thinking maybe Funko, since Funko just happened more recently, and like the news for the reboot has gone on a little bit longer, so it's maybe died down a little bit, and it hasn't started yet because we're kind of like in the eye of the storm here. But Funko has just released all those new action figures, like you mentioned, and a little bit more relevant at least right now.
Yeah, I could see that.
Greg, what do you think? Concur. Alrighty. So let's go Funko number 6. And then at number 7, the Marvel reboot. Number 8 then would be the subscription. And then so we have 2 more, 9 and 10. And ones we have left, we mentioned Deadpool is still on the board. The Power Rangers fan film, Supergirl, and Agent Carter are the ones we all mentioned so far. So we have 3 there and 2 spots. Any out of Agent Carter, Supergirl, and the Power Ranger fan film, which one should be taken off?
I think we can take off Supergirl. I'm going to turn on my own suggestion.
And I'm going to say Agent Carter, since it's essentially over. We could take that one off as well.
Well, we need to at least have 2 of them, because we have Daredevil. Or sorry. Oh, yeah, okay. You're right. I'm an idiot. So that would leave us Deadpool and the Power Ranger fan film. So I'm thinking Power Ranger fan film at 9 and then Deadpool at 10.
I'm thinking number 9, Deadpool collector sets, number 10. Or did we?
So would be
Power Rangers would be bumped up to 8 then?
Wait, no. I'm sorry, we did use that already. I haven't been keeping track or writing anything down. Or...
All right, so I'll for those keeping track, this is what we have so far. Age of Ultron at number 1, Walking Dead at number 2, The Flash at number 3, at number 4, Star Wars, number 5, Daredevil, number 6, Funko, number 7, the Marvel comic book reboot / Secret Wars storyline, number 8, the monthly subscription services. So we have 9 and 10, and right now we have Deadpool on the board, Agent Carter, and the Power Ranger fan film. So you said get rid of Agent Carter, so that would leave us Deadpool and the Power Ranger fan film, if we feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think Deadpool, then the Power Rangers.
Chuck?
Yeah, I guess Craig knows way more about Deadpool than I do, so if he's saying it's up there, then I believe him.
Well, I think there's a lot with the casting news and everything going on.
Yeah, didn't they release the picture of the mask or something too? You could
I didn't see that.
Ryan Reynolds tweeted that, and it said Colossus might be part of it, and a few others. So.
I have to look this up.
No, Daniel Cudmore back as Colossus. That would be a different guy.
Which I think I'm okay.
Yeah, they gave him like 0 lines in any of the X-Men movies. It's just kind of sad, but
all right. So that was this edition of the Geek Power Rankings, and just to go over that real quick. Like I said, number 1, Age of Ultron. Number 2, Walking Dead. 3, The Flash. Star Wars next. And then at number 5, Daredevil. Number 6, Funko. Number 7, the Marvel reboot / Secret War story. 8, the monthly subscriptions. 9, Deadpool. And 10, Power Ranger fan film. And just looking at the last one we did, so we had a few drop off. Guardians of the Galaxy came off completely. Batman came off completely. Destiny came off completely. Star Wars moved from number 5 to number 4. Huge jump up there. Arrow came off completely, but was replaced by Flash, which came to number 3. Age of Ultron moved from number 7 to number 1. And Wolverine, dropped off completely. Deadpool stayed exactly where he was at
By the way, the
9,
mask looks amazing.
Yeah, it does look
does
pretty
look
cool.
really good. So yeah, so he stayed right where he was at number 9, and at number 10, Doctor Who got kicked off, but Power Rangers took its spot. So a lot of movement going on. Some stayed on, some kind of stayed on, but in different forms, as they would say. So all right, let us know what you think. What ones that we got wrong, what we should have included but didn't, ones that are too high, too low, and we'll get to all the different ways you can contact with us at the end of the show. All right, so that's it for Geek Power Rankings, and each week we like to end each episode with a letter. We're going to do a little bit of thing different this week. We've done this twice before, and we're going to do it a third time. If you go to don'tevenreply.com, there are these great interactions between people on Craigslist, the tagline or emails from an asshole, and this week we're going to be doing Glorious Master Translator. And this is in response to an ad that was put out there that someone needed a Japanese translator to help them with certain directions they had for a product. So they sent out that ad, and then Chuck's going to be playing the person that responds to that ad. Greg will be playing Scott, the person who wrote the ad, and I'll be playing a fictional third party that comes in to make things even more complicated. So, Chuck, whenever you're ready, we can get this thing going.
Hi, you need Japanese translate? Chan, I help you with translate.
Hey, Chan. So, okay, here's the deal. My CD player suddenly stopped working, and I can't figure out why. For some reason, the only manual I have is entirely in Japanese. I took a pic of the page. I'm pretty sure it's the troubleshooting part. Can you see if it says anything about no sound coming from the output?
Okay, I find 3 things may help you. Failure of sound from device, skipping of disk for poor sound, sound volume low very much.
What does it say for the failure of sound one?
Hello and thank you for choose Glorious Master CD player. Apologies many for trouble of product. To fix failure of the sound, follow step. 1. Unplug Glorious Master CD player. 2. Plug Glorious Master CD player back in. I hope this help.
That doesn't help me at all. Is that all it says?
Oh no, very sorry. There are more steps to help you. Here. If still experience failure of the sound, your Glorious Master CD player possessed by Audio Demon. To banish Audio Demon, follow step. Ignite 7 candle. Pray to Benzaiten, goddess of music. Benzaiten will banish Audio Demon to eternal suffering. Try play CD again. If you fail banishing of Audio Demon, you failure. Much dishonor of family name. Suggest immediate death by... I hope you banish Audio Demon. Much luck.
What the fuck? Does it really say that?
I just translate what you give.
No way it says that. What kind of useless manual is this? How is that supposed to help anyone?
Very sorry. Audio Demon, big problem with many CD player. I have sword, much sharp, good for seppuku. You want borrow?
What the fuck are you talking about? An audio demon? This is BS. Are you screwing with me? Did I send the wrong page? I think this is the table of contents. Can you look at this and tell me which page is the troubleshooting one? Then I'll send you that one?
That no table of content. That sushi takeout menu. Try number 16, spicy salmon roll. Much delicious.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for nothing, you jackass.
Later, from another email account. Hey there. I saw your ad and I think I can help. I majored in Japanese in college, speak it fluently, and lived in Miyazaki for 2 years. Mike.
Thanks so much, Mike. I was talking to someone else for help, but I don't know what his problem was, dude. Dude kept sending me all this BS. Anyway, my CD player isn't working, and the manual is only in Japanese. So I need help reading the troubleshooting part. I think the attached picture is a table of contents. Could you see if it says what page the troubleshooting part is on, and then I'll send you that?
You sent me a sushi takeout menu. Are you sure you have the right documents?
What the fuck? I don't know what is going on. It has picture of the CD player on the front, and then this is the next page. Why would they put a sushi menu in here?
Japanese instructional manuals are not like the American manuals you're used to. They often include advertisements, and I guess in this case, a sushi menu. Looking at it closer, it says, "Thank you for purchasing the Glorious Master CD player. Why not order sushi while you enjoy your music?"
Well, that is dumb. Whatever. I think this page is a troubleshooting part because of the tables. Am I right? Do you see anything about there not being any sound?
Yes, this is the right page. It says, "Unplug it and plug it back in."
Yeah, I did that. Nothing. Is that it?
Well, you're not going to want to hear this, but it's a CD player is possessed by the Amanajaku, or audio demon. You should light 3 candles and play to Benziton, the god of music. Mike. Scott? You there? Were you able to banish the demon? Scott? And scene.
And that's where it ends.
We'll never know if he banished that audio demon. But
I wonder
anyway.
if the guy ever bothered to reply to him ever.
All the guy wanted was the CD player fix.
I think he realized at that point that everybody's just effing with him, so he's like, "Screw this."
Alrighty. Well, there are lots of ways you can get in contact with us. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com or live at talkingincircles.com. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. We are all on Twitter. Chuck, what is your Twitter name?
My Twitter name is @HeroicAgeChuck.
Greg?
I am at the Create Forge, or Emily Ratajkowski. Look her up. Just because. Or Emily Ratajkowski, sorry. I always include the J for some reason.
Makes it longer. And I am at Movie Revolt. And we're also on Twitter and Facebook and Talking in Circles. Just search Talking in Circles GCRN. But the best way you can get in contact with us is typically by commenting on the episode post by going to geekcastradio.com or nerdly.co.uk. Anyways, that'll be it for us for this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg, or Amanajaku.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week. God bless you, Greg.
Damn cold going around this house.
Yeah. Did you get one of those audio demons?
Yeah. We're always getting those audio demons. We thought it was the NSA that one time, but it was definitely those audio demons screwing with us.